So today we're going to be doing our very first podcast about Jiu-Jitsu. This episode we're going to be doing it on white belts. We are both white belts, so we're going to just kind of dive into what it's like being a Jiu-Jitsu white belt and all the pros and cons of it. So for starters, you want to just introduce yourself real quick?
Hello, my name is Ben from Rochester.
And I'm Nazir, not from Rochester. So I mean, for starters, like we'll just start with like the most basic. Like, what made you, out of all the martial arts, what made you want to get into jiu-jitsu?
Well, it's so accessible. If you look anywhere online, you'll see jiu-jitsu like at all corners. So, if you're looking for something to do, to find a community after college or something, it's a pretty good option.
What do you think was like the first like person you seen talk about it? Because like I think like, cause I watched like a lot of like UFC, so I've heard about it. But then like for you, who was the first person that?
Ooh, when I was little, my dad would watch a lot of UFC. So yeah, probably there. Obviously Rogan is a big guy on the internet. He always talks about jiu-jitsu. So yeah.
I'm pretty sure like every guy around our age has started jiu-jitsu because of Joe Rogan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
yeah.
it's one of those things where it's like every time I ask someone that's around our age, it's usually they'll say like we'll mention Joe Rogan or like UFC.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know, like because like a lot of like the coaches are probably like that I've seen. I've been to a couple of different schools, and all the coaches I've seen are probably like probably 40 or 50 around that age range, and like they definitely. It's curious how like I would have to talk to them and see how they started, because it wasn't because it was probably UFC, like the Gracies. It definitely wasn't like obviously Joe Rogan at that point, but definitely it's probably just like watching UFC 1.
Yeah, when you think about it, like when they were in their 20s, UFC was probably just getting started. Well, it was starting to get big at that point, but it was kind of like the hidden. It was esoteric, you didn't really hear about it in too many spaces. It didn't go into the mainstream until recently, when everything kind of follows that podcast.
Yeah.
As Rogan got bigger, so did jiu-jitsu and MMA and all that kind of stuff. So he's really led the way.
Did you ever like think about doing anything prior to that? Like, you ever thought about doing like boxing or karate or taekwondo or anything?
When I was like 5, I did taekwondo.
Oh, okay.
I was like amazing.
How long did you do that?
I did that for about a year, I think. Then again, I was 5. So,
Yeah.
I did that on and off, like jiu-jitsu. I got an orange belt. I don't know what that means, but yeah. So I did that for a little bit with my brother. I'm a twin, so he also did jiu-jitsu for a little bit. So yeah.
Yeah, I think like for me when I was a kid, I remember I knew about karate because obviously it's like everybody kind of knows what karate is, and my brother did boxing, so I thought about doing boxing. The thing with karate for me, and I know for some people that's been doing it their whole life, it's legit, but at the same time, like when I see like a bunch of little kids doing it, I just assumed it was just something like they would just do for exercise. So I didn't really see the value in it, because I'm like, I don't know if doing something like that would actually, if you can use it in real life. So that's why I never like did it.
Yeah, I mean, growing up, I would watch the Rocky movies and all that. So I would definitely get hyped on the montages. And boxing is cooler, I think, because you can kind of shadow box. It's more visual. You can obviously tell if you're trained. Unless you get to the ground, you can't really tell a jiu-jitsu guy from a normal person. But if you start shadow boxing in the middle of nowhere, you got some skills. So
well, yeah, I think too, like it's until like probably UFC like exposed every single martial art for how efficient it is. Like if you watch any movies from like the 80s or 90s or so forth, it's like they're mostly just striking. Nobody really goes to the ground. Like you might see somebody do like a headlock, or maybe you'll see someone do like a slam. But for the most part, you think striking is the main thing to do. So that's why a lot of people, for the longest time, boxing was like definitely the main sport for combat sport that everybody wanted to try out, probably.
Right.
Or karate.
Yeah. When I started jiu-jitsu, you start seeing it everywhere in the movies. Once you do start jujitsu, I was watching John Wick,
Oh, okay.
and there's definitely some judo in there, some BJJ, for sure. I think Keanu Reeves does train. I don't know what belt he is, but I think he is.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know, like, I remember I saw a video of him actually. He was at a gun range, so like he actually definitely learned, you know, just like the proper technique for holding a gun and shooting a gun and all that stuff. I'm sure he's trained. I don't know what he does. Like I know there's a couple. Funny enough, it's like since jiu-jitsu is just more popular nowadays, there are a couple celebrities that train. Like literally, it's like Zuckerberg, Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
And then it's also, you ever heard of like Saved by the Bell, the show? In
Yeah,
the
yeah,
90s?
yeah.
Mario Lopez.
Oh yeah. He's a really good boxer too.
Yeah, I think, and then his co-star Mark Paul.
Okay.
From Saved by the Bell, I think they're both like purple belts.
Oh wow.
And
Okay.
they train at Gracie Baja, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's like everybody knows about it now. It's like it's super popular, but yeah, it's like I literally thought as a kid, I thought karate was just like goofy because I'm like, oh, I don't know, it doesn't seem real. Like there are people obviously that can be legit in it, but I don't know how to tell the difference between like legit karate school versus like one of the ones that is just like, you know, like if you're just learning katas all day, I don't know, like I'm sure it teaches you discipline and all that stuff, but I just don't know how to translate that into a real world situation if you were in that.
For sure.
But yeah, I don't know. It's difficult, but to tell because I never did it either, and I never did like. The only sport I did growing up was football. I never did any other martial art or anything.
The thing about jiu-jitsu is everybody's looking for something to do after they're done with school, something structured, something difficult. And I think any mixed martial arts is going to give you that, but since jiu-jitsu is so popular now, you can build a community around it.
Yeah.
And you're looking for a group of people to hang out with. You're looking for a community, a sense of purpose, you know, something to look forward to during the week. And, I mean, jogging can get you there, but there's something skilled about jiu-jitsu, something you can continue to tinker with that I think is really attractive to a lot of people. Yeah, I think that's something maybe like a Sunday beer league can't get you. You know?
Sure, yeah. Well, so for you, like, so we both train at, you know, here in Rochester, we trained at Nova Jiu-Jitsu. That's the place we both started. So for you, so do you remember when you started, and also what was your first day like?
I believe I started, it must be like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. I want to say a year and a half ago, around March. I was just looking for, again, like a sense of community, something to look forward to during the week, a skill to progress in. And, you know, it seemed like a good option. You know, obviously, jiu-jitsu, there's a bunch of places around Rochester to try out. And it was the closest one to my house, and it just turned out to be like a good option, you know, great group of guys, really down-to-earth people, so.
Yeah, and then, like, do you remember, like, what your first day was like? Do you remember, like what you did? Like, I don't know if you remember, like, any techniques, probably not, but do you remember, like, anything specific about that day?
Yeah, for sure. I went to an early morning class, and
gotcha.
as you know, the early morning classes at Nova, they're more geared towards the more experienced guys, so it's more rolling, less fundamental drilling. So I got there, I showed up way early. I'm like, uh-oh. And usually people roll in a little later, so I'm like, all right, I think I got the schedule wrong. And I'm trying to think who was there, but yeah, they kind of set me up right away, and they held my hand throughout the process for sure. And I wasn't doing any crazy rolling the first day, but I was super nervous because, yeah, it's something I've never done before, not even close. Most of the sports I've done are very, like, you're not really up in somebody's grill.
What'd you do growing up?
Swimming, so
Okay,
definitely
yeah.
very different.
Yeah.
I did baseball and a little bit of soccer, so yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think Also, well, at least with swimming, it seems like I know you're on a team, but that is individuals, baseball, soccer, team sports. So jiu-jitsu is definitely different because it's like your school, I guess, is essentially your team, but it's also like, if you were to compete, it's just you. It's not like your team's not helping you out for that aspect. So other sports, like to an extent, definitely help when it comes to, I guess, just like, building a community. But yeah, it is one of those things too, like as you get older, when you're done with, like a lot of people when they're done with college or whatnot, they stop playing their specific sport, then they gotta like find other stuff, so that makes sense. Did you go with your brother the first day?
No, he started much later, like 6 months later.
Oh, dang.
So I was really kind of, when we usually start, like if we were gonna start a sport, before that we kind of just did it together. It's easier that way. But yeah, no, I started by myself, and yeah, it was pretty.
Was it gi the first day too?
It was gi. I haven't done a whole lot of no gi.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, no, it was gi most of the way. Yeah, it was pretty. It was not a super eventful first couple sessions. Just kind of getting a feel for what it was all about. I think by the third practice, I was already rolling.
Okay, yeah.
Which I guess I've only worked with Nova, but I guess that's pretty early compared to a lot of places. So
Yeah, like it depends on the school. Like I've heard some schools like maybe like 6 months or so. I've heard longer. I don't know. Like as a white belt rolling, I feel like since it's one of those things too where like since you have no idea as far as techniques unless maybe you wrestled in high school or something, it's like since you don't know what you're doing, you kind of just focusing on just kind of muscle and strength and all that. So it's like you really don't know what you're doing besides like kind of crashing into somebody and then trying to like get on top of them maybe. Like yeah, it's weird.
So what I do remember from those first couple sessions, we were working on shrimping, and for some reason that was just impossible at first. Like the movements and the coordination to do that was just not intuitive at first, and you do the shrimp, and everybody in the class would be looking at you because they're already wrapped up, and you're just one guy just doing the movements, and everybody's just already at the other end of the mats. So there's you gotta kind of get over yourself a little bit. There's a humility you gotta kind of go through.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, but for me, like a lot of like I don't learn things fast. I learn it pretty slow. So yeah, doing just like the beginning drills. Like a lot of schools, not just Nova, they'll do like a warm up. So it'll be like shrimp, and then maybe do like a bear crawl or shrimp. You shrimp forward and backward, stuff like that. And yeah, it's like you're just awkwardly doing it. You don't know what you're doing, and that I always felt so stupid doing that. I was like, oh my god, dude, like this feels awkward as hell. It feels like you're like, I don't know, just like a little kid or something.
Yeah. And especially when you're rolling with like the higher belts. I mean, when you first start, even the white belts, they'll beat the crap out of you.
Yeah.
But that's also a cool thing to kind of experience that when you're a little older, and that feeling of vulnerability and feeling like you suck at something, and I think that's important. If you want to just get better at anything, you got to experience that and kind of embrace it,
Yeah, and then and I'll tell you real quick my like first couple of classes and all that. So for me, the first class I did wasn't at Nova. It was actually Gracie Jiu-Jitsu.
Okay.
That's the first class I did because it was a lot of times I work out of the Victor area, and I was like. I saw that they had jiu-jitsu, and obviously I know about the Gracies, and I think I started too just because I think it was probably like mostly Joe Rogan was talking about it, and then that guy Jocko?
Yeah, Jocko.
He's obviously huge in the community as far as like encouraging people to start it.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll try the Gracie school, and they offer like a free week. So I went to that one. They have a new location, but the previous location I went to. And like so you got they got the gi and all that, and I remember my first day I had to roll against this girl, and she was there for a while, but it's like jiu-jitsu Jiu-jitsu's already awkward to begin with.
Yeah,
at
yeah,
first.
yeah.
And at first I had to go against this girl, and then just naturally like felt awkward, a little bit more awkward, and then
Yeah.
I was also like, I didn't want to like she was better than me for sure, but I didn't want to like, I don't want to say hurt because we were just drilling, but it's like you feel awkward pressuring somebody. You know what I
Right,
mean? Just
yeah.
putting all your body weight on them, or really like, what's it called when you like pressure on their, I can't think of the word.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
cross.
Yeah,
what's that
yeah.
called?
Like a figure four or.
No, like if somebody's like on top of you and then you have your blade of your arm on their neck.
Yeah.
Like
I don't know the phrase for that, but it's very painful.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't think of it right now. But yeah, it's like, so that was my first day, and at one point she was like, she switched partners because like she was like, I could tell this guy's feeling awkward, so they switched partners.
Yeah.
The first day, and I was like, I felt embarrassed as hell.
You just want to crawl into a shell, yeah.
But it's like, yeah, and it's like, it's one of those things too where, you know, it doesn't feel awkward once you are comfortable with jiu-jitsu. But it just happened to me my first day, and it was like this one girl. She was cool, but I just like, I didn't know. I felt just weird, like, I forgot what we were doing. I think we were doing like a takedown or something like that. But yeah.
It's definitely a very awkward thing. Jiu-jitsu is very awkward to start. Unless you had any experience in wrestling, I think that's a good kind of comparison there.
Yeah.
It's because you either go too hard, where you're like, this guy's a freak. He's trying to kill me, but you don't realize it. Your body goes into fight or flight mode, or you kind of just turn into a mush and you let the person kind of do whatever. That's almost better. You're better off kind of going with the flow and not tightening up, which I struggled a lot with. I would always tighten up, and the breathing part. You think I practice meditation a little bit. You think you have it down until you're in a stressful situation where you're completely tightened up and you're not breathing at all, and you're just like squeezing your way through. And you just can't do that. You can't do it.
Yeah, I think like definitely. Well, like, and then so I'll fast forward a little bit. So after that class, I think I didn't. At one point, I was like, "Oh, let me try the Nova School real quick," because it was closer.
Mm-hmm.
So when I first did that one, I went to an afternoon class, and it was Skylar was the coach that day. I remember that.
Yep.
I remember I walked in. I think it was 6 or something. I walked in a little earlier, because obviously you got to sign waivers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I remember it was just like, they were blasting like death metal. And then he was like doing this kettlebell workout.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I was like, maybe this is closer to my, more of my pace, I guess.
Okay.
Because I was just like, I'm not gonna lie, I felt really awkward the first day at the Gracie School.
Yeah.
I went back, and there was, I had a good time there. But the first day, because of that little experience, I was like, dude, I don't know, this is awkward. Yeah. And so I went to the school, and then I don't remember too much. I think, honestly, when it comes to, we're talking about, like, controlling yourself and breathing and all that good stuff, I think the first day, if I'm not mistaken, I think I sort of rolled the first day. I remember we're doing this exercise. I don't remember who it was, but one of my partners, or maybe it was like, when you're in the situation where you're drilling and they're like, all right, now give some resistance or something. Yeah. I think it was something like that. I don't know if it was rolling. I don't remember, who it was, but I remember they were a lot bigger, probably like 6 foot 230.
Yeah.
So they're like, this big guy. And I remember just like holding on to his lapel like really tight, and him just like moving me around. And I was like, dude, this guy's going so damn hard right now. And I remember literally like feeling like my fingers were like bruised afterwards because I was holding on to his lapel because I didn't know what, like, I was like freaked out. I didn't know what to do, like, because I know, like, so football, like, obviously you learn to tackle. Yeah. But I'm like, okay, this is different. We're on the ground. This guy's, and he was a white belt too, so I don't think he wasn't doing anything crazy. He was just giving me like resistance. Like, he wasn't trying to like submit me, like crank a submission or anything. But he was obviously just a big, strong guy. Yeah. And so it was like, I remember him just like throwing me around. I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And then so just I didn't even know like what rolling was, like flow rolling. Right. Because like I've seen some jiu-jitsu matches prior to that, but I didn't really know how to do it necessarily. So like just starting off with any type of flow rolling Like you don't know what to do exactly.
Especially like sure, say you're a rookie and you're a strong guy, and you get a dominant position. It's like, all right, what do I do? I'm on top of this guy, and I don't know how to submit them, so I'm just gonna hang out here.
Yeah, yeah.
And maybe like
just a lot of holding, hard as hell.
Yeah, yeah.
Holding on.
I'll put pressure on them, hold them down, and like try to choke them, but you can't really choke people if you don't really know.
Yeah, I would put like my beginning rolls. I would just try to put somebody like if they're like on top of me, I would just have my arm on their neck and be holding on.
Yeah.
And then I remember one of the upper belts. Do you remember Brendan?
Yeah, great teacher.
Yeah, he was always cool. And he was telling me, he's like, yeah, that's not really gonna work. Like, he's like, you don't like when you're in that position, holding on to dear life. Like, I remember him telling me something like it's probably not gonna especially with an upper belt, you're not gonna get them like that. But you kind of like naturally, if you're wrestling with a friend, you get them in a headlock and you keep them there. And then you're like, oh, that's what I know to do. But you don't, like, unless, like you said, like, unless you wrestled in high school or something, you don't know how to finish anything. It's just, like, a lot of it was just, like, holding on or just trying to stay on top or something like that.
And you just get exhausted. You're tightened up the whole entire time, regardless of what position you're in. And you realize, oh, I don't know how to deal with stress, It does translate in, like, other spaces of your life. You're like, all right. I'm in a difficult situation. I feel awkward, and I feel tightened up. And you start to realize that after jiu-jitsu. You're like, wow, I'm tightening up during the day. I got to relax my shoulders a little bit. You can obtain information a little better when you relax. You can kind of feel out the flow. And I started to get little flavors of that towards the last time I started training, but. It's such a hard thing just to get a glimpse of that. Like, oh, I kind of feel what it's like to relax, and you understand how the body works and how other people's bodies work. You start to get a little more intuitive with your movements. But I just got a glimmer of that as a white belt. So, yeah.
Yeah, so like a lot of it we were discussing was kind of, showing the pros of doing jiu-jitsu. But for you, like, what do you think were some of the cons that, whether it be like, just anything you can think of, or just even like any type of injuries or whatnot you dealt with?
Oh yeah, so you will, if you train jiu-jitsu, you're gonna get something. Yeah. You can probably avoid the major injuries, but you're gonna be hurting the next day. I've really messed up my back on a couple of occasions. I've gotten into a couple arm bars. This is something you got to learn when to tap. That's something. You're not. It's not a good look if you just try to work through the pain and not tap. You're not. It's an ego thing for sure. But tap early if you're in an arm bar. I learned the hard way. I felt a little crack.
Oh man.
That took me out for a couple weeks.
Oh dang! Really that bad?
Yeah. I don't know if I tore anything, but yeah, I definitely needed to take a breather after.
This was just like rolling or something?
Yeah, just a roll. Especially when you're with another white belt.
It was a white belt too?
Yeah. You're with another person that's really tensed up. You're gonna get a nice potential ligament tear.
That's... So I never... For me, the worst injuries were just like... I had like some lower back issues. I learned how to stretch better and not go as hard, so I haven't been dealing with those lately.
Yep.
But yeah, I had a lower back issue. I think it was just like a previous injury too, because like I remember one time, like with Nova, I know you were there a little bit longer. I would do classes sporadically, maybe like 20 or so classes, probably a little bit more than that. But yeah. So I did some at the Gracie School, and one time we were doing this drill. And it literally wasn't even with a partner. It was just like a simple break fall or like a tentacle stand up, something along those lines. And I remember like it screwed up my lower back. And I was like, how the hell did that mess up my lower back? But it's probably previous things too. But so I've dealt with some lower back issues with jiu-jitsu. Luckily, I guess really just stretching. And
was that early on?
Probably after, let's just say maybe like 30 or so lessons in. Okay. Something like that. it's hard because I did it like very sporadic at first. But.
Yeah.
So luckily, I never had any injuries from, what's it called, rolling. I don't think so.
Mhm.
Because I usually don't have like too much of an ego in rolling, so I don't.
Yeah.
I don't like. If somebody gets me, I just tap right away.
Yeah. I mean, that's the right way to go about it. But yeah, I figured. I think the more you roll, I think your body just gets used to that punishment. When I first started, I think that's where most of my injuries happened. And you're gonna do some wild stuff. You don't understand really how your body works until you really get a feel for it. And I still don't know. So, I think that obviously if you're rolling with a black belt, they'll take care of you. They know your body better than you know your own. So, yeah, it's very hard to get injured when you're rolling with a black belt. It kind of seems like it would be the opposite. They'd kill you, but.
Yeah, I mean, there's been times too where I've rolled before, where I've had a upper belt go hard as well, and I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, clearly you can beat me.
Yeah.
But then at that point, like, usually for me, like since I've been training more now, my technique is a little better. I'm still learning a lot, but like when it comes to somebody around my size, usually. They don't out-muscle me, but they out-technique me.
Yeah.
So if you don't know what you're doing with, like, especially with, like, a upper belt or something, because obviously your technique would be better, it's just, like, then I would more likely rely on muscle. But no one's ever gotten me, like, I don't know about you, but no one's ever gotten me mad, like, rolling.
Oh, no. You kind of, you can't take anything personally.
Yeah, I never got in mad. Like, even if it's, like, if somebody goes hard, you'll go hard back. But I never felt like personally, any personal like beef with anyone.
Right. I mean, I definitely have gotten people probably mad just because I don't know what I'm doing.
What did you do? Like, did you do something? You've done like, so you don't gotta say names or anything.
Yeah.
I remember you told me a story where someone got mad at you.
Yeah. I don't know. I still don't know what I'm doing. So I was, being a maniac, just tensed up. And
do you think like the term like they'll say like spazzy white belt?
Oh yeah.
Do you think you have fell into that category?
Oh yeah, textbook. Yes.
Go a little crazy, gotcha.
So, yeah, he was like, all right, let's just go for a nice smooth roll. Let's focus on technique. I'm like, yeah, for sure, man, for sure. that was like that lasted for maybe 30 seconds is generous. 20 seconds, and. Yeah, you forget right away. You forget right away that you're supposed to focus on technique because you go into flight or fight mode,
Yeah.
And
adrenaline, yeah.
Yeah, your adrenaline
it
starts
happens
something.
Quick, yeah.
Yeah, so you completely forget and everything goes out the window. So I was rolling with this guy, and he was showing me the ropes for the first couple of weeks. He was good. He had great technique and for a white belt, and he was really into it. And I was bigger than him, so I was able to get a dominant position.
Gotcha.
Like I said before, didn't know how to submit, so it's just.
Would you like try to like smother people or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just try to smother and no real strategy, and he was getting frustrated with me, and I think I might have just pulled his elbow or something like by accident, and I felt terrible. He was like, "Dude, what are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm sorry, I don't know what I'm doing here." Again, I probably shouldn't have been rolling at that point. Should have just been focused on my technique before going into that kind of situation. But yeah, that kind of shook me up for a little bit. Because you go in there, you want to make friends, you want to... Yeah, and when that happens, it kind of stirs you up.
Yeah, no, I luckily haven't done anything too stupid. I usually, if anything, I'd go probably lighter than I should. Like, I heard like some coaches be like, you can be mean. You know what I mean? Jiu-Jitsu is at the end of the day, it's a contact sport, contact martial art. So it's not like, but it's like it's one of those things too where it's like, I don't want to hurt nobody. Like it's just not.
Sure.
I don't like hurting people. So
Right.
It's like there's even certain positions that hurt, like doing like a knee on belly or like cutting across somebody's thighs with your knee, like that junk hurts.
Yeah.
Like You kind of get used to it, but like it's really uncomfortable to feel somebody's shin bone scraping across your thigh while they're going. When they're like passing guard or whatever.
I kind of looked out there because I'm a twin, and me and my brother Jack would just fight each other all the time.
Yeah. Okay.
So like obviously, when you're fighting somebody you don't know, it's a little different.
It's different. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
When we were my brother eventually started jiu-jitsu, and we would do drilling together, and we just go so hard, so hard on each other, And I remember Sky was like, "What are you guys? What are you guys doing?" Yeah, it's just like if you're not going for blood in the early morning rolls and the drilling, what are you doing? But no,
yeah,
no, that was a little too intense for. Yeah, we were just,
I usually I think a good thing too is like when you're meeting someone, like I always like introduce myself, like, hey, what's up, man?
Yeah.
Say your name, and then like I'll roll. I'm better at not. I don't think I've ever been like super spazzy. I'm sure I have, but nothing crazy.
Yeah.
At least I don't think so. Usually, like I'll take it easy. Like I'll try to work my technique. But if somebody gets me, I'll just laugh it off. Like, all right, we're good, and then maybe talk to them afterwards. And then usually it's okay. Like if you don't talk at all and you're going hard right away, maybe that's where the
yeah.
The what's it called, like trying to
the
dilemma, whatever.
Yeah.
That's when people find it awkward. Or that's when people get like their egos hurt. But I think if you like come at it like as like your training partners at the end of the day. It's usually okay, because I can't think of an instance where I got like somebody got mad or anything. And some guys at the same time are just intense guys no matter who they roll with. But there's that too, So yeah, I mean it's just kind of trying to figure out that balance, but. Even the school I go to now, I don't roll that much. I actually just really want to work on technique.
Yeah.
Cause and for like, how long did you do it, by the way? Cause I know
about a year.
Okay, a year solid, you think, or I know you took some time.
I don't know if I'd say solid. I would say a year, and then I trained probably like 2 days a week.
Oh, okay, so twice a week.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you what's it called? Was it a situation for you that was it time or like work schedule or something?
It was work.
Gotcha.
Yeah, just being busy with a full-time job, and then and trying to fit in other forms of exercise. If you're just doing jiu-jitsu, you're gonna get hurt. I tried to mix in some weight training.
Okay,
but nothing too intense, just to kind of have like some protection.
You think too? You got hurt mostly because it's like. Would you say you sparred every time?
Yeah, for sure.
That's probably part of it.
Yeah. And like, especially like the judo parts of it, like just bracing yourself for falls. That stuff will really screw up your back. Yeah.
So you would go to some of the classes where they taught like takedowns and stuff like that? I know they had some like judo classes. Right?
Yeah, I did a couple of those, and not a whole lot, but enough to where you're like, oh, this is a different breed. You gotta really form your body to this sport.
I've done a couple, because like the school I go to now, I go to Dark Arts BJJ in Webster, and they have a wrestling class, and I've done some of those classes. It's cool. Like I'm thinking of like learning wrestling for jiu-jitsu. It's cool, but I definitely like the jiu-jitsu side way more, just because like. I don't know, like I'm not as willing to risk injuries as, because like when you're younger you don't even think about it. Because like I played football for like 4 years.
Okay.
And like there's definitely times where I took in big hits, got some big hits in, and it's like I never really thought about injuries too much besides maybe like concussions. But as I've gotten older, it's like Jitsu's definitely, a great hobby, but I'm not, like I don't want to have some crazy injury. Because like, I still gotta go to work.
Yeah, for sure.
Like it's not like I'm a pro or anything. So.
Right. It's like, it's not really worth, like obviously it's a great sport and you can get a lot out of it. But to go hard and to spar all the time, it's for what? What are you doing?
Yeah,
what are you doing?
I think like the takedowns, like unless you're properly doing it, I feel like there's probably way more risk of injury there. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because like you're starting from the top, and then sometimes they're putting like their whole entire, body weight on top of you just to like take you down, or like I don't know, it just like the takedown stuff is a little bit more risky. I feel like, in my opinion.
For sure, for sure. Especially your natural, like you have a habit of throwing down your arm.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna destroy your wrist. Just
absolutely
shoulder. Yeah.
Sure. So, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so if you're just working on pressure control, you're gonna be fine for the most part. Especially if you're working with somebody that knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
And they're gonna show you what they're doing. So when you're just at a free fall, you don't know what's gonna happen. You don't know how your body's gonna react and what kind of surface you're falling onto.
And you never did wrestling, right?
When I was like 5.
Oh, okay.
Not enough to
like,
take anything out of it.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I was gonna say, like, I know in general, compared to like jiu-jitsu guys, from what I heard, jiu-jitsu guys are more laid back. I mean, some guys obviously are definitely still intense, but wrestling, just because they're so used to competing like weekly, they're definitely, I feel like, more like intense as far as like, you know, getting like that big takedown, that big slam or something like that.
Yeah, I would say my high school was pretty big on wrestling.
Oh, okay.
That definitely tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah, the wrestlers were definitely more jacked up.
Yeah.
More amped up personalities. Unless they were trying to drop weight, and then they just become kind of soulless, you know. They just have that look in their eyes.
Yeah, I remember I went to my friend, his cousin had a wrestling tournament, and it was in Brockport University.
Yeah.
I know, because it was like I guess it was like the one before like states. It was like the last thing. It was the last wrestling match for high school, and it was weird because it's like you just saw a bunch of like these young kids, but like just like top heavy, like their shoulders are like that.
They got the Dorito build.
Yeah, literally. I was like, what the hell? Like, why are all these little ass kids have this crazy build?
Yeah.
And it's like they're like all wrestlers, so I can see. So yeah, it's definitely, you know, it seems like a definitely very intense sport. And jiu-jitsu, it just depends on your gym, you know, probably.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing I love about jiu-jitsu, and I wasn't, like, I don't know if I was expecting this or not. I didn't really go in with too much expectations. But you get so many different types of characters going in the gym. You get people that are astrophysicists, you know. You get cops, you get teachers, you get social workers. The whole spectrum of people, you know, which is great, you know. Yeah.
Did you like, and then was there like any like pet peeves you could think of? Like, I know it's kind of, I guess it kind of falls in hand with the sort of like some of the cons. Doesn't have to be anything like that you hated, just something that you were like, I wish we did this a little different, or you know, something like along those lines.
Yeah, so I don't know if I have too many like pet peeves because I'm such a rookie. I don't think I get that. You get that privilege of having a pet peeve. You know,
yeah,
I feel like I'm not worthy. But you know, just having one gi and having to do, it's a lot of laundry to do. So
dude,
it's a lot of laundry.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that's funny. It is very annoying. It's very annoying. You only have one gi?
For the majority of the time I rolled, yeah, I had one.
Oh, wow.
So it's like every day you gotta be diligent, and if you let it sit in the hamper, you will create some type of like terrible virus or bacteria from your that will create a stink bomb in your.
I remember like the first month or so I just used the one they had, and then I think I got probably 2 gis to begin with.
Yeah.
Now I probably have like 5, so I'm good for the week. I'm able to like just, you know, like at the end of the week maybe just like wash the sets and then repeat, and I'm okay. But yeah, even that, it's like if I do laundry, because I'm used to doing laundry like outside of jiu-jitsu like once a week in general.
Yeah.
So, and like the gis are big as hell, so they take up so much room.
Right, they're dense.
And they're heavy.
Yeah.
So it's like you can wash your gi with like other stuff, but it's like, you know, it's at the end of the day, it's it takes up a lot of room, and it's just annoying.
Especially the no-gi, the rash guards. That Under Armour material, that just soaks in all the stink, you know. It's impossible to get out, but
like the like the rash guards?
Yeah.
Luckily, I haven't dealt with anything as far as, there's been times where I would say some of my pet peeves for me could be like some smell stuff. It's like because there's been times where I roll with people, and by the way, I've been to like 3 different schools, so you experienced three different bunch of different people, but it's like where like their gi smells, and you're like, damn, dude, like this is nasty,
Yeah.
or like their rash guard is just super sweaty. This is like, I think a lot of times it's like you definitely, you can't if you're like a germaphobe. You definitely couldn't do jiu-jitsu because there's plenty of times where I rolled with people and they're like I literally their sweat on their face hits me in the face.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is disgusting, dude. I was personally I take a shower afterwards because usually
you have to.
Luckily the gyms that I've been to have had showers and I just hop in right away. But yeah, there can be a lot of smells and stuff. So.
Were you are no gi or a gi guy? What's your preference?
Yeah, I would say gi. Like literally for the longest time, I didn't like it because it was just like having to wash it all the time was a pain in the ass, and then also for the longest time I couldn't tie the belt right. Did you learn how to properly tie when you were?
So when the first couple sessions, I had help with it. And then I just YouTubed it, and I think it's called the Hollywood method.
Okay.
It's just like the double loop around, and it makes it kind of look like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle kind of
Gotcha.
vibe. So I like that. It was nice and clean. I liked how the two sides kind of perfect and symmetrical. So I like that way of doing it. But yeah, in terms of pet peeves, I would like to mention that I like to. Bit of a projector here to go with sporadic people and to get like whacked in the face. That's not fun. Get a little taste of my own medicine, but that's all part of it. Just going with spastic people and kind of dealing with it and learning how to stay calm and not do that yourself. So.
Or I think like another thing too, it's like jiu-jitsu, just because you're like on top of people, it's like very like. I heard people describe it as like intimate, not intimate like in that way obviously, but just like it's very up close, very personal.
Yeah.
So it's like, but so it's not really like we're used to it now, but it's definitely one of those things where like you can just smell everything. So like smelling someone's breath is not fun at all too.
Yeah. No,
like, there's been times where I'm like, damn, dude, like, fuck, like this guy's right on top of me. And it's just. Right in your face.
Right. That's a good point with the intimacy thing. Like, you have to get comfortable with uncomfortable situations, and you just feel so much more confident when you go through that thing. You're like, oh, I'm okay. Yeah. You just feel more.
Because they're literally on top of you. Like it's like someone's like smothering you. It's like you don't have like there's no breathing room. And it's just like it's very uncomfortable. Like if you're like claustrophobic or something, or if you had like a bad experience like getting jumped or something. It's like that's I guess can help you work your way through all that.
Yeah, it's kind of a nice controlled environment unless you're going against a white belt. But if you're rolling with a black belt and they're smothering you, or not even black belt, like purple up, and you feel like they know what they're doing, and you're getting smothered, you're going to be taken care of for the most part, and you can kind of trust yourself to relax. Like, all right, I'm going to get through this. Just keep breathing. Try to find a way to either shrimp out of a situation, but you can get through it. You just have to relax,
Yeah, and you also did gi, but did you ever do any of the no gi?
I did some no gi. Okay. So really, I had very limited arsenal of submissions. I know I shouldn't be, as a white belt, really your main focus shouldn't be submissions, but obviously it is fun to kind of...
Yeah, of course, learn some, yeah.
So my favorite was the cutter. So you take the gi and the lapel and you bring it across. You can't do that with the no gi. Gotcha. And I that was my crutch. I would use that for everything.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So not having that, I felt kind of lost. So I would try to focus on like the figure four, which it's so hard to do the figure four for some reason. Like you forget the shape of the number 4. But But yeah, for that reason, like I never really got super into no gi, although I see how like important it is to kind of, especially for fundamentals and getting the speed work and not kind of relying on the grabbing, you know.
Yeah, I mean the no-gi, like some schools just do no-gi. Like there's like a 10 planet school
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
They
yeah.
just do no-gi. It's cool. I mean, I've done so. Luckily for my school, at least they have two no-gi classes, and the rest are gi. And then well, wrestling would be no-gi too. So yeah, I like doing both just to try it out. I don't really think about it. The only reason I mostly didn't like the gi was like I couldn't get the belt right. It was just annoying. Like I literally learned how to do it like this month. Like this month I learned how to do it. Like I would sort of do it, but it would fall undone. It was very annoying. And then with the what's it called? Yeah, so that's mostly why I didn't like it. That's it. And then,
It does take a little bit to get
yeah,
used to it.
I also felt like awkward. Like I hated when someone would grab your lapel because then they have like a choke there, or they're like it's when you grab the grips. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
some people are so good at that, and then you gotta like try to break it. So, but you know, I've learned to enjoy it more, and but yeah, no, it's definitely there's two different worlds. But so like since you've done jiu-jitsu for however much you've done, like how confident would you feel if somebody like were to attack you, like in the streets or something?
You know, jujitsu, what's the quote? Like, the more you know, you feel like the less you know, something like
Yeah.
that. I definitely feel that way in terms of, like, getting into a fight. Now I feel like, oh, I could get destroyed. Like, I am not, like, you think before you go to a jujitsu class, like, you can handle yourself. You know, it's like, oh, I kind of work out once in a while. Like, I can, like,
Yeah.
I can take care of business. And then you get into the arms of a blue belt who just makes you feel like a toddler, and you feel helpless. That kind of does something to your perspective on how maybe tough you think you are, or how good of a fighter you think you are. Not that I ever thought I was a good fighter, but it kind of humbles you, and you know, it kind of makes you a little more cautious in situations. You're like, all right, maybe running is the best form of defense there, you know. But yeah, I think it kind of made me less confident in my abilities. Although I think I might know what to do more than before. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely humbles you.
Yeah, I think like when I was younger, I would watch a lot of like these like fight videos and stuff like that. And then I played football and I worked out, so I was in decent shape. So then like you just naturally, I guess, just having like testosterone, as a guy or whatever, or even when you're like a teenager, you're really like juiced up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of feel like you can definitely fight people. And in reality, if you were to, like I think like they say most fights last like 30 seconds to a minute, sort of. That's if it's like, if you're like in an area where it's like a party or something, they'll probably fight for like a minute and then people break it up or whatever. Like every fight I've been to, like watching somebody fight, it's probably, yeah, like a minute, I would say. Like,
Okay.
so then it's like, but if you compare it to, depending on where you are, if you compare it to like, I guess the streets, it's like, if no one's there to break it up, that fight who knows when it's going to stop. And if that person's stronger than you, then like, yeah, you're screwed at that point. Unless they're merciful. So it's definitely, yeah.
Yeah, you just don't. Everybody's training. It seems like a lot of people are training nowadays. So you don't know, like, not that I'm looking for fights, but you just don't know what somebody does know. And really, if all you need is to get lucky with a strike, if somebody knows how to throw a punch, and that could be the end of the story. It could be
Basically, yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it does kind of keep you in check. It makes you realize that there's some killers out there.
Yeah, no, I think definitely, doing jiu-jitsu definitely is a lot humbling. And then, but it's like I never want to fight nobody. Like, I'm all good. Also, just think about like the jiu-jitsu environment. It's like, at the end of the day, it's like maybe like a 5-minute round. It's, you're training against someone that maybe you don't know, but at least you guys know the rules of jiu-jitsu for the most part, unless they're like brand spanking new. You also are did I say matted already? It's like, I don't know if I said that. Like, you know, you're on the mats.
Oh,
so
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know, and then you have your coaches there. So it's like, it's a controlled environment.
Yeah.
That's like a good way to describe it. And then obviously, like, because even like think about it, like, let's just say that you train gi. You know, we're in Rochester. There's a lot of you know, they're in the winter. Obviously, people wear jackets and stuff.
Sure.
So you could use some of those submissions for sure.
Yeah.
But like, imagine going on the concrete out. You know,
no.
like you're gonna scrape yourself up right away.
Right. If you get slammed,
you're gonna feel that. Like,
you're
like
done.
rolling around on the concrete is definitely not ideal at all, because it's like any time, you know, even like because you can like break someone's guard, you can like do like, you know, like a baseball slide and slide into them, but on the concrete that's not gonna feel good. Like, you're gonna be scraping yourself up, and then your knees are gonna be screwed up, and then you can get slammed. And also, like, you would probably have to train MMA style jiu-jitsu in order to like know what it feels like when someone's punching you, because a lot of jiu-jitsu, obviously, you're playing by the rules.
Yeah.
So you're not thinking about somebody punching or kicking at you.
Right. I mean,
because there's a lot of positions where you're vulnerable. That's not a, you know what I meant to say.
Yeah.
Vulnerable, whatever the hell that word is. So it's like, you know, in comparison to like an actual situation.
Sure. I mean, I'm the last person that should be speaking on fighting or any sort of MMA, you know. But it seems that if you're doing this to become a street fighter, you want to be well balanced in your skills. Just being a grappler, I don't know if that is the best option. You gotta be well versed in a variety of, you know, skill sets.
Yeah.
Striking.
I think about it just like jiu-jitsu just gives me, and once again, definitely fighting, I think in the streets is crazy, but it gives you at least, it gives you a fighting chance.
Yeah.
If it's an emergency.
Yeah.
That's how I think about it.
You know, I think it also kind of chills you out too, because you realize, you know, you might be able to handle yourself, but just like in everyday situations, stressful situations, you feel a little more relaxed. When you're consistently training, you're surrounded by this kind of stressful, potentially life or death like situations all the time. You kind of relax, you know. You realize that a confrontation with somebody, even verbally, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Relax your shoulders, like relax your vocal cords, whatever. You're just like, it's not a big deal. It's all good, you know. And that it carries over. It carries over. It really does.
I think, like, and before we wrap this up, I think one of the last things I want to touch upon is like tournaments. Did you ever watch any of the tournaments?
Yeah. I went to one of the tournaments. I've never participated, but I did watch. It is a great motivator to like get going and being a little more consistent. To see guys you've rolled with before, and to cheer them on and to see them be successful. It's like a high to see somebody that you know has worked hard for something and has been consistent. Find success. It's really cool to watch somebody crush it, you know?
Yeah, I think I've gotten a chance to definitely go to a few tournaments, just like local ones, and then even Naga, that one, the North American one.
Yep, I've been to that one.
Yeah, that's like cool to see those just different formats. Because I remember did you ever go to the Nova in-house one?
No, I have not. No.
So I think they do a couple yearly, but I know I've been to one of those. That's cool. But yeah, just seeing the competitive environment is definitely one of those things too with jiu-jitsu, like for like, you know, like we're like touching upon like the street situation, like unless you're like competing too, since they're going 100%, like they're not holding back like your training partner might, that's probably a good sense of how it would feel like, you know what I mean? Like, because it's like you're both, you know, you're both pumped up.
Yeah. I saw a pretty gnarly injury. Some guy, it was a fall.
Oh, he landed. A tournament?
Yeah, he landed right on his shoulder. He was an older guy. He was probably late, not older, but he was probably late 30s. But it's enough to, like, you know, fall the wrong way. He dislocated his shoulder. It was just gruesome. But on, you know, a good thing that happened there. Somebody that is always Francisco, do you know?
Oh yeah.
He's always training. He's like one of the best guys to roll with. I think he won his division, and he ended up getting a blue belt. But to see
okay,
that was really cool. Just to get a new belt, to see somebody get a new belt, you don't see that too often, and you often see that when they do the belt tests. But to see it happen in a tournament setting, like, oh, you really deserve this.
Yeah.
And you know how hard he's been working. That was awesome to see. That was probably one of the highlights of my jiu-jitsu experience. To see somebody get there.
Yeah. I think it's interesting too, because like I'm not sure if I would compete or not. Like I like it, but in order to compete, it's like you definitely gotta like be willing to go like pretty hard. And I'm more like, I don't want to say casual, but because I go to it a lot. But I'm not sure if I want to compete. If I ever do, obviously I'll that'd be a cool experience. But it's one of those things too where it's like you also don't have to compete. Like I think some schools will push you more to compete.
Yeah.
But it depends on the school too. Like even like the Gracie school, like the one I went to, that one, they don't compete in that school. They just do their curriculum they follow, and then once you get what they call your combative belt, then you roll. I think it's like after like, let's just say average like 6 months after you roll. But even the upper level guys don't compete. They're just doing it for essentially just lifestyle, hobby, I guess,
Most of the guys, yeah.
Yeah, I think because there's also like the competition. There's like different levels too. Because even amongst like a black belt or something, like there's black belts coaches. Some of them compete, some of them don't. But and there's like the pro level guys. So it's definitely interesting for the whole competition aspect of things. But it's one of those things too where it's like you don't have to do it, unlike wrestling where like they're constantly competing or whatever.
Yeah, and you have to make weight and all that. But that's the great thing about jiu-jitsu. It's like you're a part of that community regardless of what level you're at.
Yeah.
If you want to do competitions, you can do that. But to be in a group of guys and girls that compete and getting to cheer them on, even if you're not that person, that's awesome. To be a part of that, to be a part of somebody else's journey as well, So.
Yeah, no, it was definitely cool. I've been to a few tournaments. That was a good time. I think. Luckily, I don't think I saw any injuries. That'd be crazy. Yeah, I didn't see any crazy injuries. Actually, funny enough, I remember because real quick we were talking about like injuries and tapping out on time. I remember this one time. So when I did the video where it was like the interview and then like I rolled with people.
Yeah.
One of the guys actually got me an armbar and I'm like, that junk actually hurt. Like I felt that for like a week.
Oh no.
That wasn't too bad. He was looking back at the video, he actually didn't crank it. He obviously just did it right. Because I felt it. I was like, damn, dude. Everybody was cool, but yeah, it's funny. That was me. That was my tournament experience. Getting my arm torqued by a blue belt.
You did it for the content.
Yeah. But yeah, that's funny. Yeah, but you think there's any closing messages? Actually, I mean, we got like a minute. I'll wrap that up because then it's gonna go over.
If you're thinking about doing jiu-jitsu, give it a shot. You might as well do it.
Yeah, I would say definitely. If you want to do jiu-jitsu, it's a good sport to start with. I think it's relatively lower risk of injury compared to other stuff. Like you're not taking damage to your brain or something.
Yeah. If you're looking for a community, something to do after work, it's a great way to get your toes wet there.
Your toes wet.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that'd be the end of this episode. This was the white belt segment. Hopefully I can get other people to join. It took me a couple weeks just to get this one set up, and then some scheduling we had to figure out too. But yeah, no, this was great for our first episode of the white belt series. The next episode we're gonna do the blue belt series.
Cool. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, man.